I thought I had witnessed every petty scheme a homeowners association could conjure. Fines that seemed designed to irritate, incessant warnings, whispered gossip, yet nothing had prepared me for that morning. Our HOA president leveled a firearm at my wife. One instant, she was pruning her rose bushes. The next, Marlene was shouting about regulations, her hands trembling around the cold metal. What? She had no clue why she aimed at the wrong person. That wasn't just any neighbor, it was my wife. And she wasn't an ordinary resident. She had spent her career leading the Secret Service detail, assigned to the president. That day, she reminded everyone what genuine authority looked like. Drop your location in comment. Let's see how far this story reaches around the world. It all began when we first arrived at Willow Creek Estates. The neighborhood resembled a picture-perfect postcard. Manicured lawns, freshly painted fences, and neighbors waving like clockwork. My wife, Dana, had just retired after decades in the Secret Service, yearning for quiet mornings, golden sunlight, and calm. No briefings, no tactical drills, just peace. But peace, I soon learned, is fragile when power-hungry people feel challenged. Marlene Whitmore, the HOA president, or as everyone quietly dubbed her, the neighborhood tyrant, did more than enforce rules. She lived for them. The first notice arrived a week after our move-in. Our grass was supposedly too tall by an inch. Then came a complaint about unapproved garden lights. 2 tiny solar lamps. Suddenly we were criminals. Each letter bore Marlene's signature flourish. Bold, assertive, territorial. At first we chuckled. By the 4th notice, though, the tone had soured. Words like violation, disciplinary action, and property infraction crowded the page. Dana remained composed, her calm the same as when she confronted real danger. But I could see it in her eyes, the narrowing, the scrutiny. This wasn't mere pettiness. It was deliberate, and soon it turned personal. It started with the cameras. Dana noticed one perched atop a street lamp, its tiny black lens trained directly on our windows. When she inquired, Marlene called it a safety measure. Within a week, more cameras appeared. We reviewed our own recordings and caught Marlene pacing past our home at midnight, flashlight in one hand, clipboard in the other. When we lodged a complaint, the board dismissed it. Unsurprising, since the board was essentially Marlene. Our mail arrived torn, trash bins tagged with bright tape. Even friendly neighbors stopped greeting us. Dana understood what this meant. She meticulously logged every notice, every photograph, every late-night surveillance visit. 48 pages of cold, unflinching evidence. Then came the so-called Community Safety Directive, a new HOA mandate requiring visitor clearance for anyone entering the neighborhood. Dana's own sister was turned away. That's when her calm turned into laser-sharp focus. Dana started combing through the HOA's financial records, and what she uncovered chilled us both. The association had been diverting money to a private security contractor through fake invoices labeled as landscape assessments. Those cameras weren't for community protection, they were surveillance tools aimed directly at us. Marlene had convinced the board that Dana posed a national security risk, that she was dangerous, trained and monitoring them. In reality, it was Marlene doing the watching. We reached out to the sheriff's office, but they said their hands were tied unless someone was physically harmed. So we waited. But paranoia doesn't fade, it festers. Marlene began appearing in person, pounding on our door, snapping pictures of our license plates, shouting about violations. One night, around midnight, I caught her crouched by our mailbox with a flashlight. When I confronted her, she smirked and said, "Just performing an inspection." Dana didn't respond. That night, she took her firearm from the safe and began cleaning it with deliberate precision. It wasn't a threat, it was instinct, honed by years of discipline. Then came the evening everything unraveled. We were trimming hedges as the sun dipped low, when Marlene's SUV came skidding to a halt in front of our driveway. She leapt out, waving documents, screaming about boundary lines and code violations. Curtains lifted and neighbors peered out, phones ready. Dana stood still, calm as stone, hands relaxed at her sides. I told Marlene to leave. Instead, she reached behind her back and pulled out a gun. For a split second, time froze. Her hands trembled, her voice cracked. Something about protecting the neighborhood, and she leveled the barrel at Dana. I started to shout. But before a word left my mouth, Dana moved. In one seamless motion, she stepped forward, redirected Marlene's wrist, and disarmed her. The weapon hit the pavement with a dull clang. Dana secured it and said evenly, "Threat neutralized." Gasps rippled down the block. Marlene's authority evaporated in an instant, because that was the moment everyone discovered who Dana truly was. Not a troublesome neighbor, not some rule breaker, but the former commander of the president's Secret Service detail. And she had just dismantled the HOA's self-appointed queen with surgical precision. Sirens wailed down the street, red and blue lights slicing across the manicured lawns and white fences. It was a scene no one in Willow Creek could have imagined. Marlene shrieked about entrapment, self-defense, and fabricated evidence, but every frame of her outburst was already recorded. Her own surveillance system, the one she had used to stalk us, had captured her downfall in full color. When the officers arrived and saw Dana's credentials, their tone shifted immediately. The firearm was cleared, the evidence secured, and Marlene was handcuffed before she could sputter another word. Dana stood motionless. No triumph, no fury, just quiet finality. An officer asked, "Did you know she was armed?" Dana replied softly, "No, but I knew she had a pattern. The gun was just how it was bound to end." The neighbors stood frozen, their perfect little cul-de-sac suddenly feeling smaller, quieter, and a lot less safe. For months, the neighborhood had murmured about Dana, believed the half-truths and gossip, but now the reality was plain for everyone to see. The only real threat had been the woman in charge. Marlene was led away in handcuffs, still yelling about rules no one cared to hear. The following week, HOA meetings were subdued. The president's chair sat empty, her nameplate gone. Marlene faced charges for assault, harassment, and misappropriation of community funds. Neighbors who had once avoided our gaze approached with quiet apologies, ashamed of their earlier silence. A new board was formed, bringing transparency and accountability. Every surveillance camera was removed. For the first time, Willow Creek felt authentic, flawed, honest, real. As for Dana, she never spoke about the ordeal again. She returned to her garden, tending her flowers and shrubs as though nothing had occurred. Yet I noticed she still scanned the street before stepping outside. Some instincts never fade. One evening, as the sky turned amber, I asked her, "Do you regret moving here?" She smiled gently. "No. You can't fix what's broken if you never see it up close." That line has lingered with me, because the truth is these communities, with their rules and committees, are delicate facades of order. Sometimes, it only takes one obsessed individual to reveal how easily that illusion can crumble. Marlene lost everything, her authority, her reputation, her control. Dana gained something far greater, peace. A few weeks later, the HOA sent a formal apology. She read it once, folded it neatly, and said, "Some things don't need a response." And that was it. No revenge, no celebration, just quiet dignity. Now when I watch her in the garden, sunlight brushing her shoulders, hands buried in the soil, I reflect on the true nature of power. It isn't control, it's restraint. Marlene had mistaken fear for authority. Dana showed what real strength looks like. In the end, the most powerful person isn't the one who yells the rules. It's the one who stays calm, even when a gun is pointed at them. Some confuse dominance with strength, but real power is knowing how to remain composed in the face of danger. Did you enjoy the video? Then show your support with a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to become part of this journey.